Devlin, Untamed.
Welcome to the podcast, people. iOS, it's only sport. Martin Devlin, Lachlan War. This is the highlights of today's show that aired 1 till 4 on the platform. I'll explain again, as I do every day, what is the platform. It is 9 hours of live, free radio every day. It's a privately owned independent media company here in New Zealand. You've got to download the Platform app. If you subscribe to Platform Plus, you get a heck of a lot more benefits. But essentially, what we do is we do what the mainstream media don't do, which is provide an unbiased, uncluttered look at all the day's political events, the news events that kicks off with Sean and Michael throughout the day. And then we present the only independent sports radio show in this country on a daily basis every afternoon. And we condense it down for you into this highlights package, available as a podcast every night. Greg Martin every week on a Thursday. His thoughts out of Australia, the former Wallaby and the Triple M breakfast host, including the BBL, Glenn Maxwell, the Aussie Open, many topics to discuss. Dick Tayler, 10,000 metre gold medal winner. He was on the program today celebrating the 50th anniversary of the opening of the Christchurch Commonwealth Games. David Dome, GM of the Phoenix. An update on catching the clowns who last week attempted to attack the Melbourne Victory fans. Plus, the Up the Wahs, could they get an equivalent thing going with Come On You Knicks? Talk to him about that. Tennis, big time. Dave Worsley out of Melbourne. The Aussie Open, all 8 semi-finalists found. And the women's semi-finals are tonight. A couple of real close calls and near upsets in the quarters yesterday. And, of course, Alcaraz getting dumped, the second seed. That was a real shock. That was by Zverev. Plus, introducing a man called Justin Walley. What is he doing? He is trying to get a football team organised in the Marshall Islands. Where are the Marshall Islands? Well, somewhere between Japan and the Philippines, in the middle of absolutely nowhere. It was an atomic testing ground for the US for a long time. They're the only country on earth that don't have a football team. And Justin has flown in there to help the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation set one up. We got lots of sport to talk today. As always, begin the program the same way.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Come on, Christchurch City Council, get real. Stop this nonsense right now. Stop this pretense that you might get to host the Commonwealth Games in 2030 or 2034. Just stop it, mate. You know it is a total waste of time, breath, money and everything else, just like the event itself. 10 Christchurch City councillors have voted in favour of undertaking a feasibility study. 7 voted no, don't do it. So as democracy operates, the council will now go ahead and spend a whole lot of cash that they don't have to spend on some wishy-washy, highfalutin, fluff and guff accountancy firm to pretty much do what has been done before, which is essentially produce a cut and paste job from the other previous studies to conclude exactly what they concluded, that it's not financially viable. It's like watching a slow-mo car crash. We all know how it's going to end, so why bother? Why go through the process in the first place? I totally agree with the Horswell councillor, Andre Moore, who's been all over the news this morning saying it's irresponsible. Every other city suggested is running a mile from it. Why are we even bothering discussing something that is zero chance of happening and we can't afford it? He's exactly right. Moore knows what we all know. We had this debate last year when Grant Robertson, the most wasteful finance minister that has ever been in office in this country, he floated the idea, remember? Floated the idea, which was gobbled up by his lapdog, paid for Gigglefest media who ran the story like it was gospel. Of course it wasn't. It was never going to happen. It was Robertson down and out in the polls, staring at the humiliating election defeat which was coming, trying to run a distraction ploy, which clearly worked with the dumbass, sycophantic bunch of journos in Parliament. Listen, the Gold Coast have said no. That was after Melbourne said no. That was after Durban said no. That was after Birmingham, who hosted it last time, said no. What part of no don't you understand, Christchurch City Council? Gold Coast hosted the event in 2018, so they already have all the infrastructure in place to do it again, and they won't go near it. Why? Because they're going to lose another 3 or 4 billion if they do. It's not just idiotic of these councillors, it's fiscally irresponsible. Here's the message loud and clear to the Christchurch City Council. Stop the process now before you spend a huge sum of money on a feasibility study, which you already know is a total waste of time and money.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The platform.
Greg Martin joins us as he does. Triple M Breakfast O's and former Wallaby out of Brisbane. And Marto, it's been sweltering here in the Shaky Isles, mate. How hot?
Well, I reckon you would have got to 26 one day. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep an eye on Auckland weather.
Yeah, 26.
You want to know what it is now?
Let me guess. So hang on a second. So at the moment it is, 10 a.m., 10:18 your time. I would say she's up to 30 by now in Brisbane.
32, 8% humidity. It's the humidity that gets you, mate. You wouldn't know. When it gets you, it gets you. This is when recently arrived Kiwis to Brisbane go, New Zealand wasn't too bad after all.
That's right. Yeah, God, can we get some air conditioning going? You've got a test match against the West Indies kicking off today in Brisbane at 5 o'clock.
Did you? What did you call them? The worst Indies?
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. Well, this cyclone's hanging around up the top of Queensland. You wouldn't know about that, but there was worries about rain, so we were hoping it'd be wrapped up in 2 days, and it probably will be. Mate, they're just kids. We're just toying them like a cat with a mouse in its court, just giving it one around the head and then letting it run a little bit. That's the West Indies. But I'll be going, and
do they still have that dirty pool that people slop and swim in and stuff? No. Well, okay. So that stopped during COVID, did it?
I'm not. I'm not drinking. So the whole world has changed. I've given up drinking. Mrs. Marto and I. We've had a look at ourselves, and so I don't know what's going to happen. I've never been sober at the cricket, so I don't know whether it's exciting or not.
How long is this going to last?
I'm going to dry.
How long is it? What you said? My God, you're going to be like those people at the cricket telling people to shush and stop having fun.
Yes, exactly. That is me. I don't know. Like, it's a scary thing because I've 2 weekends in a row I've been sober. Geez, it's boring.
It's the Australia Day test. We've had a text in here. Ask Marta about Australia Day. Are you allowed to celebrate Australia Day still in Australia or not?
Yeah, apparently. No, we've got a handle on this, mate. After that voice vote went down last year, you probably realised and told everyone to bugger off. Told the loud minority to bugger off. We seem to be winning a few more, well, they're not wars, but a lot of the activists, I think you call them, have shut up. But the Australian cricket team, so we're solar panel Pat and Steve Smith, they don't want to celebrate Australia Day because they're pains in the arse. There's still people, there's dickheads around, mate, and you can't help them. So everyone's just ignoring them. Australia's getting better since we galvanised ourselves and said, no, we're not to blame for what happened 200 years ago. Leave us alone. We were born here. This is our place. We don't have to be welcome to welcome to country is a big thing here in Australia. It's ridiculous. Yep. So we're taking back a bit of control, and the idiot woke activists are actually being put in their place. You guys should try it sometime.
Good God, just even suggesting that.
Have you got the courage?
Suggesting that in this country.
Have you got the courage?
Mate, I'm just screeching. Female sports journalists, they'll be all over you, mate. And even saying that... Santa's pen! You know, mate, that's what it comes, mate. I mean, that's what we wear in this country.
Wait. I didn't say I'm having a go at female sports journalists. I'm not going that far.
In terms of cricket, though, if you get bored with watching your lot, at 5 o'clock also, India are playing England. So that will be actually worth watching.
No, that's proper cricket.
Okay,
right. Wait, don't we play you guys soon?
We do. And this is great news. So the first 4 days of the Basin Reserve Test are all sold out. Now, you don't get a huge crowd at the Basin, but it's a brilliant place to watch cricket. So that, you are coming. We are hoping that this time we might be able to front up, stump up, and actually do something against you, because most of the time we just crap the bed. Glenn Maxwell, let's end on Glenn, because Glenn ended up in hospital this week after going to a concert. I actually read a couple of great tweets about this where there are a few cricket fans in the country trying to get that band over to play during the first test between us and you guys. So it was funny, and I was talking to Andy Raymond about this.
He's all right. He won't be in the test team. He's not in the test team, so he's not a worry. He's only 1 day in T20.
Okay. All right.
He was dehydrated, mate. He was dehydrated, and what I find since I stopped drinking alcohol in the last few weeks, I don't get dehydrated anymore. So it was just...
How long is this going to go for? How long are you going to put the kibosh on the drinking for?
I don't know. Mrs. Marlowe's in charge of that.
Right.
She described some of my behaviour over the holiday period as abhorrent and caused by alcohol.
Yes.
She said you've got to have a look at yourself. Mm-hmm. And I said the same thing to her. Then we said, right, we haven't. So she said another 2 weeks. So we've gone 2 weeks now, and I'm bored. I'm like Glenn Maxwell. Let's get back to Glenn Maxwell.
Joe Schmidt, we're going to end on. You're happy about this, aren't you? You've got to be happy about this now. Come on, you've had time to think about it.
Yeah, listen, a wonderful bloke. I was listening on another radio station. They have Beaver on. Beaver had been coached by him in the New Zealand schoolboys or something or other. And he said he was a strong, he looks silent, he looks friendly, but he's tough. Maybe that is what we need. Well, I can't do anything about it. So I'm not going to protest. And he's obviously a great coach. But what was the last Wallaby coach that had great success prior to Australia? Australia, coaching the Wallabies will sort anybody out. Like you all of a sudden will become... I feel sorry for Joe, but you put your hand up, mate. Good luck.
Finally then, as we prepare for the Super Rugby season, the Crusaders are catching a plane to go and play Munster and another Irish team. The Blues are going up to Japan. How are you guys preparing for this?
What?
Yeah.
We're preparing. The Rebels, the Waratahs and the Brumbies are all talking to their liquidators and seeing how much money they owe. At the moment, the Waratahs owe $6 million to KAU. The Rebels are in the can for $9 million, and I think the Brumbies for $5 million. Reds haven't said how much they owe, but I'm sure it's a bit. Mate, Australian rugby's in a terrible way financially. We're now borrowing against what we think we're going to make when the British Lions come here in next year, 2025. We're borrowing, I think, $80 million. Rugby is Australia. She's in a bad state, mate. So, no, we're not travelling anywhere. We'd rather play all our games at home because I don't think we can afford to fly anywhere.
Bloody hell. Hamish McLennan was tossing off last year, going to make $100 million off the World Cup, $100 million off the Lions too, made $8 million profit. Australian rugby couldn't be stronger. You just bought Joseph Swahili for $50 million. What the hell's happened?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have that money. So, but he's an advertising guy. He's not a numbers cruncher. So, you know how advertising guys just march forward and just look into the future and they don't worry about what's going on. They don't cross any I's and cross any T's and dot any I's. They just go big picture.
Oh, it's all about exciting new opportunities and creative new technologies, isn't it? I mean, we get that here.
So there you go.
Yeah,
how would you like to know that the New Zealand Rugby Union had borrowed $80 million just to keep surviving for the next 2 seasons? We'll see how it goes. Keep an eye on this, mate, because one of those two, geez, how would the Brumbies go dropping out? But the Rebels might have to cease operations, I don't know.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. Commonwealth Games 50th anniversary of Christchurch, set alight by a guy called Richard Tayler. Dick Tayler, he became known, a household name, won the 10,000 metres gold. What a story he has to tell. And the memories 50 years later, for those of us that witnessed that saw that on colour telly for the first time in New Zealand, staying with us. I asked the question, how many sports these days, how many sporting events, how many sporting stars or so-called stars are we still going to be talking about 50 years later? What a treat to have Dick Tayler on the program. I want to say congratulations again. It's been a wonderful life, Dick, and those memories, mate, to last as long as they have. How special?
Well, I'm just wrapped that people still remember, and I still remember at the plus, but it just, on the day I couldn't believe what happened, and even now looking back, it just seemed quite uncanny, that, particularly with Arthur, what he did to prepare me, to have me right when I stepped on the track at 3:15 on a Friday afternoon. It was, just so special, and everything he had told me to do, I did, and it all came together on the day.
No more QE2 Stadium. Of course, the earthquake took care of that, which is such a shame, but just your vivid memories of that day. Tell us that story again, mate. Tell us that beautiful story again about how David Black was behind you. You were in the black singlet and the crowd were chanting. I love it. You tell it best.
Well, the thing is, I was only told to run lap times, which was going to give me a time of 27:45, which was going to be a New Zealand record, Commonwealth Games record, and I believed that. So that was 3/4 minute quicker than I'd ever run before. So I was running my lap times. But I didn't sort of envisage the fact that I'd end up 60 to 80 metres behind the leading bunch. And to this day, I never panic. I probably this day I would panic. And I was minding my own business. And then the crowd sensed that the Kiwi was starting to close the gap on the leaders. I wasn't speeding up, they were slowing down. So I always remember the crowd started chanting, black, black, black. And I thought, hell, this is great. The guy in front of me's name's Black, and the guy in front of him is black, and I'm wearing black. So who the hell are they chanting?
I love
who are they chanting for?
Yeah. I love every time I hear it. I tell you what, these days we'd even get in trouble for laughing at that. It's beautiful. You tell it so well, mate. And also, just ladies and gentlemen, the funniest public speaker you'll ever see is this man. You know, Dick, it's not an Olympic gold medal, but do you know what, mate? It feels to me like it was. Is that weird?
Yeah, well, I remember Peter Snell saying to me afterwards, because I spoke to him, he was probably one of the last people I spoke to before I stepped on the track, because Lydia had arranged for him to come to the warm-up area to speak to me before I moved out on the track. Well, having Peter Snell come and speak to you was very special. I've never forgotten that part of it. And he just said, it's going to be a good day today for you, Richard. I was still Richard at that stage.
That's right.
He wouldn't call me Dick during the journey. But I was still Richard. And Peter Snell said, you know, it's going to be a good day for you to do today. And he said, you've got a big plus on your side. He said, you're doing it at home. You're going to run at home. He said, Murray Hellberg and I, we overseed when we had our moment, but you're at home. And he said, it'll help you running at home. And he was right, too, because the crowd picked me up, and, well, all of New Zealand, they picked me up and carried me along. So I just had to keep the feet ticking along, you know, keep the body going. And everyone else was doing the rest. They're carting me along.
What happened to those feet of yours afterwards, mate? Because you had all kinds of problems, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I went and ran indoors with John Walker, and that was special. We both ran well over there in America, and then I was getting ready for Europe, and things were going wrong. I was getting a lot of swelling in my ankles and that, and then I was struggling to run. So I ended up in hospital, and then next thing I got diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitic arthritis. It's taken me 50 years to pronounce that. But the only, you know, even though it bowled the hell out of me, I got very depressed and down to it. But the only hope I had, that I was told that it could go into remission, which it did. You know, I had it for 3 or 4 years, and then slowly went into remission. So I was able to get around and, you know, be reasonably active again, so to say. But sadly, my career had finished, so that took a wee bit of accepting.
Where's your medal now, mate?
In a shoebox, bottom of the wardrobe. But it's coming out soon. The next few weeks it's coming out, and I'm going to give it to Timuru Boys High. And they're going to have it in their memorial library alongside Jack Lovelock's medal. And Pat,
fantastic.
And Pat Boots' Empire Games medal. So I thought I'd do that rather than sit in a shoebox at the bottom of the cupboard.
You know, it's been 50 years, mate, and I know that, you know, the Christchurch City Council are talking about it. Look, we all know how many billions it costs, and it's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. It's a shame what's happened to the Commonwealth Games, but, you know, things evolve. But at the same time, you know, for you to create a memory like that, you know, what is, you know, it's a dumb question, but what's more special, winning it or the fact that 50 years later people still care about it as much as we do?
Yeah, that's the thing that I really... I know New Zealand sports people are pretty passionate, but, you know, I thought, well, maybe I had a day in the sun. Commonwealth Games were very most successful games of the modern era. So, you know, it was nice being part of all that and seeing all the other New Zealanders do so well, swim so well, and the weightlifters and that sort of thing, and the start of John Walker's amazing career. And, of course, the only thing I always worried about, and the team sports were starting to get more involved, and I'm all for team sports, but when you get team sports involved in big international competition, there's a lot of more people, so therefore the cost becomes greater to host major events like the Olympics and Commonwealth Games. So really, and there's a lot of world championships now, different sports have. Sadly, I think the Commonwealth Games, this future is not good.
No.
Mainly for the cost, sheer cost. Yeah.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full.
The Tight Five.
5 separate sporting topics, roughly a minute or so on each. So much to talk about. Tennis. One of the biggest upsets in Grand Slam men's side of the draw last night with Alcaraz going. Did you honestly believe that Zverev could beat him?
Just call him Sasha.
Sasha could beat him. Medvedev looks dead from the time he hits the court. I wonder whether that's just a ploy. He keeps his hair floppy. He looks like, Ben from Accounts is who he looks like. Yeah, and you just kind of think, what, you're an athlete? He doesn't look athletic. He's so languid the way that he plays.
Yeah, he's dweeby.
But the touch,
Wiry.
the most beautiful touch that he's got. Come on, you Knicks! We're going to talk to David Dome about this a little later on in the show, the general manager of the Phoenix. It's been reported across the media, and again, it's the way that it's reported is very disingenuous. The way that this has been reported is that David Dome is out there banging a drum saying, oh, look, I want us to do the up the wires thing, and I want you to come on, you Knicks, to be the up the wires thing. He was asked the question, it was just a suggestion. He'll explain a little bit more about that and also catch up with him. Are you tracking down those dickheads who tried to attack the Melbourne Victory fans? The feasibility study. Well, that's going to be a short topic, isn't it, from the Christchurch City Council? Big Bash final last night, Super Smash prelim final tomorrow, final Sunday. You watching any of it, Lachlan? AFC and NFC Conference Championship games are on Monday. We've got to call those today. Cricket tonight, West Indies, Oz, England, India. You're going to be watching any of that. And we'll start with cricket. The first 4 days of the Basin Reserve Test, us versus Australia, are sold out. No great shakes or surprises here. Congratulations, New Zealand cricket. If you got a ticket, well done you, because tickets gold dust. Just like England last year, this time, was sold out at the Basin Reserve. I hope a whole lot of Aussie fans are coming along. That will be amongst the best sport that you'll see all year. It is the most beautiful place to watch cricket. One of the best cricket grounds in the world.
Basin
Reserve.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get Captain Kane back. I know that Gary Stead says that, hey, look, he will be fit to play against South Africa. I don't really care about that. I just want him. He needs to be there when we play Australia. Call it now. Do we win?
I think we lose one.
I'd take a draw out of the series every day of the week, mate.
And I was going to say, I think we draw one and we probably lose one. I don't know if we beat them.
I think we've only beaten them 8 times in cricket tests in the whole time that we've played them. Since 1974, because remember that they didn't play us for about 30 years. I didn't think we're good enough.
One in the space of...
Well, the last time that we won one was what?
2011.
2011. And
before that...
was 1993.
There you go.
Okay.
30 years. Over 30 years.
So we won one test.
We've won one.
Okay, so that's why I would take one of the test wins against them. Tonight, though,
mate,
quickly,
I'd take not losing both. The Aussie...
Yeah,
it's Australia in Test cricket. If we lose one, fine, and we can draw the other...
please don't do what you're doing to the West Indies to us, because that game today is, what is the point? The West Indies Australian cricket test is that sport's equivalent of the Christchurch City Council doing a feasibility study into the Commonwealth Games, isn't it? Let's combine topics.
Well, it's kind of the equivalent of the All Blacks and the Wallabies. Once it was a great matchup, and now it's just like,
Yeah. India versus England, though.
What, in cricket?
Tonight. Same time, 5 o'clock. That'll be worth watching.
Test?
Yes.
Here we go.
That's always worth watching. I love that series. Big Bob has texted in and he says that the Warriors paying for Volkman's shoulder is an admission of guilt. Shame on them. I don't know if it's an admission of guilt. I think good on the Warriors for actually doing something for Volkman.
I think it's then helping him out,
isn't it?
I will say this, though. Not that it's an admission of guilt, because the Warriors didn't do anything wrong, but they could sit there and be feeling a sense of responsibility. Is that the word? Yeah, responsibility. Yeah, for the situation, because he played for them. He was playing in a Warriors jumper when, I guess, the roots of this injury or issue first started, if that makes sense. So I guess there's a part of them probably sitting there going, okay, well, he was with us when this happened.
I think they're doing this for the player, not the club. They're doing this for him, is what they're doing.
I think so, but
St. George, it was up to you to do your due diligence on the player.
Yeah, but... Because this is going to cost him some money.
What did he disclose, though, Volkman? That's the other thing. Did he actually say how bad it was? Did he even know how bad it was?
This is you know what? This is quite an interesting thing, because could there be some decency? Because if he didn't disclose it, could there be some decency on the part of the Warriors to let them know, oh, by the way, you know that he's got an issue, right?
Well, if you're getting rid of a player, you're getting rid of the player, he's gone, mate. That's how I think I think it's that cut and dried. But, I don't agree, Bob, that the Warriors are responsible.
No,
but I do actually think the Warriors are doing a good thing by the player.
The problem thing this is a former player who's not long left us.
Yeah, left on good
He
terms.
needs a bit of a hand here. Let's help him out.
All right. Come on, you Knicks.
No.
No?
Well, they already do that kind of anyway, don't they?
Well, this is the point, and we'll talk to David Dome about it. The way that this has been reported in mainstream media, screeching female sports journalists, every time you say that, I can't help but thinking of Santa's pig. They're not trying to do an up the wires, but what he was asked the question, and what he said, he would love that to organically grow like up the wires. Up the wires, you got to remember, up the wires, it wasn't serious and it wasn't to be taken seriously. When it first appeared, it was like Let's Gone Warriors, which doesn't make grammatical sense or anything, but it is an absolutely legendary Warriors banner now, isn't it? Because it was Let's Go Warriors, and of course when the season crapped out, they just painted on an N and an E. It was funny. And I think that's what Up the Wires was to start with, wasn't it? But now it's gained its own momentum, and it seems to be part of the club as much as Sean Johnson and last year's run to the game before the finals was. I don't think you're going to have a Warriors season now without Up the Wires being attached with it. And if people want to yell, come on, you Knicks, good.
Well, it's different.
But it's got to grow by itself. You can't force people to do something, because the moment that you ask them to do something, then they're not. The adults just won't. I mean, if the Warriors insisted that everyone chant Up the Wires during every game,
Well, you wouldn't.
Well, you wouldn't.
No.
Because you're just saying, stop telling me off, Jacinda, and stop telling me what to do.
Jeez, you can't get her out of your head, can you?
Well, after watching that bloody Saltburn with Clark, I didn't know that he was such a good actor. I've known Clark for quite a while. I just had no idea he was so... Anyway, so I applaud whatever the Knicks are trying to do to get fans engaged, because their fans are already engaged, but get more people along and get them to participate.
Do we know what the crowd number was last week?
9,100 and something, 39
Tell you what, I'd
like
take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd take that.
Good
Wellington
crowd.
never turns out for
every
sport.
single Super Rugby side would take that in this country, wouldn't
the Blues would cry out
They
for
would cry
9,000
out.
people.
A couple of topics quickly before we go to our mate Jamie Wall. AFC, NFC, call it now. I might even ask this question again before the show finishes when we play your favourite game, whatever. You tell me what has more chance of happening. Who wins out of the Ravens and KC?
Well, I've got some interesting numbers here.
Go on.
I'll say the Ravens, because man for man, I think they're a better team and they've played better this year.
They win, mate. Come on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way the Chiefs don't. In terms of defense, the Chiefs have a very good secondary that's performing well. Against the run, they're not very good.
No.
They're 18th against the rush.
Yeah, that's right.
The Ravens are first in yards, third in yards per carry, fourth in touchdowns, first in attempts. They're in the top four for the four main
Well, they're the
rushing
best
stats.
team in the comp. They were. That's why they're the number one seed in the AFC. Plus, also, they've got the best quarterback who seems to have got over his playoff hump, right?
Well, the best quarterback who breaks the pocket.
Right.
That's what I'd say.
All right,
so the Ravens
NFC,
win.
San Francisco, home to Detroit. Is this more of a maybe? Lions?
I'm
Well, we all
taking
want.
Lions.
I don't know why. We want the Lions because they're
No,
just.
I'm taking the Lions.
You are taking the Lions.
I'm taking the Lions.
Love
I
them
think
or lose them.
I think the Niners, the way they played last week, was concerning. I do not trust Brock Purdy, and I think the Lions are absolutely riding this wave of uplifting emotion.
Tennis, the Aussie Open doesn't get any better than this. The 8 semi-finals have been found last night. Seismic shock in the men's. Alcaraz getting beaten by Zverev, and he now plays Medvedev. Good God. Daniil Medvedev, yesterday I watched that quarterfinal of his. He just looks gassed from the very first game. But whether that's just a ploy or not, he ended up winning 6-4 in the fifth set, toughened it out over 4 hours. On the other side of the draw, Novak plays Sinner, and Sinner hasn't dropped a set all tournament. That's in the men's. Coco Gauff playing Sabalenka in a semi-final tonight. Winner of that. Well, most people's picks probably to go on and win the tournament. Dave Worsley with his thoughts from Melbourne. Let's concentrate on the women's to start with before we look back at the quarterfinals yesterday, and we were messaging each other during that Medvedev match. It was extraordinary. Okay, Coco Gauff and Sabalenka, fourth seed plays second seed. You've been saying these two women are on a collision course right since the tournament started. You got it right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you could really kind of predict that one. You didn't have to be too smart on it, considering that you had Coco Gauff, who beat Sabalenka in last September's US Open, albeit that Sabalenka just collapsed after winning, a set 6-love and then lost. And you've got, of course, Sabalenka, who's the defending champion here. So really, we do have the two best players at the present time. Of course, you've got Coco had the good build-up winning Auckland, and then, just easing her way in. Her serve is usually her weapon, although in her quarterfinal, I mean, she just couldn't hit a ball in. I think there was 105 errors in that quarterfinal, so she's going to have to pick that up a little bit. Whereas Sabalenka has just cruised through all of her matches. She's on a great record here at the Aussie Open, but I don't know. I'm not too sure which way this one's going to go because they can both play at high ability, but I think Sabalenka's going to come under a little bit more pressure if Coco Gauff can just up her service game and make less errors.
Okay, so who wins this? Call it, because we're going to remind you this on Monday. Your prediction of who makes the final out of these semi-finals tonight.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and go the continuation of the qualifier, Yastremska, to actually come through in 3 sets over Zhang. That will be potentially a very hard-hitting match as well. And why not? I think I'll go for Coco Gauff over Sabalenka, and I'm probably going to get both of these wrong.
Let us go back to yesterday. Sinner against Rublev, obviously. 3 straight sets, and now he plays Novak tomorrow night. But we were messaging a lot during Hurkacz versus Medvedev. And Dave, I know you, look, and I've got to say this and praise you publicly, because when I was watching that 4th set and Medvedev up a break and then he lost that set, and I said, he looks gassed, he looks dead. And then he had that break, which is meant to be 5 minutes, and it timed out at 6:45 or 55 or whatever. But with the floppy hair that he's got, he doesn't look built or buff like an athlete like Alcaraz. And I wonder whether it's a bit of a con job with him, because he just looks as though he's about to die, and yet then he produces a brilliant 5th set, breaks, holds serve, and that winning beautiful touch shot on match point was glorious.
Yeah, he looks as though he's absolutely exhausted from the first point of the match. That is the way Medvedev is. He doesn't look like an athlete. I mean, you've got a 6'6" beanpole who somehow does every shot off balance, who's basically standing in the front row of the crowd to receive a serve, yet he gets them all back. You know, everything he does is technically almost wrong. And you just can't coach that. What you have to do is encourage him to improve where he can. But yeah, that's what makes him so fascinating to watch. That it's like every beanpole out there has a chance to actually play tennis when you see him play.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. And he was being interviewed by McEnroe afterwards, and I thought, my God, has McEnroe shrunk? And then I looked up, he's 6'6" is Medvedev. He's an absolute big. But he was saying that, I think it was against Bartoli, that he actually, you're exactly right, he was receiving serve basically standing in the front row of the crowd. Yep. And he made, in his broken English, which is pretty good English, he said that they've done some stats on him, and he runs about 30% further than just about everyone else that plays professional tennis. Because he stands but it's just the way he does it. I was stunned when I was listening to him, actually. Like, he came across, I thought if he hadn't won the crowd over by yesterday, I thought that post-match interview, it was hard to dislike the guy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he had the issue in 2019 at the US Open where he did the fingers to the crowd and got them all racked up, and they started booing him. And he started, "I love you guys booing me. Keep it up, keep it up." And they kept on booing him in a fun way all the way through to the final. And, he made the final. It's just he can bring out the best and the worst out of people. Players don't like playing him because, well, he's just so difficult because he doesn't do anything completely orthodox. And as some of them have said, he sucks the life out of your actual shot, because he gets it back and then makes you have to go for something more and more, and you get frustrated with yourself. And you can see he's a very intelligent person. He's been living in overseas in France since he was about 14, so he's hardly Russian anymore. He's, half his life has been out. He speaks French, fluent French, English, and then obviously Russian, and goodness knows what else. He's actually got a scholarship for his smarts, for his academic when he was younger as well. So he's a smart guy.
Yeah, apparently he's a mathematician, mate. Apparently he was studying maths. He could have been a professor of maths. Call it, Dave. Who is going to be playing the final? Novak versus Sinner, and then Medvedev versus Zverev. Sorry, say it properly, Lachlan. Zverev. Dick, mate. Okay, who wins out of these 2 semi-finals? I just can't get my tongue around his name.
Just to make it easy, I'm going to say Medvedev. I hope he wins against Medvedev. I really do. And I'm still going to have to stick with Sinner because I've stuck with him all the way through. And I think he's just going to have just too much gas, literally. And I think he's just been playing too solid. It's going to be a tough one to beat Novak Djokovic at the Aussie Open. Well, goodness, that hardly ever happens, full stop. But I think this time it's going to be an interesting one. It will be played in the afternoon, not late night from what we understand. But the Aussie Open won't tell you when they're scheduling.
The Phoenix, riding high at the top of the A-League. Going great guns at the moment. All the positive press and publicity that come around with that. And then a few drongo meathead, I'm not going to call them fans, idiots, go on the rampage last week and try and attack the Melbourne Victory fans. Well, they've spent a fair few days, the Phoenix, working with police and security to try and identify these clowns. How is progress on that? From David Dome. I've read all the stories, obviously still investigating in terms of identifying those fans. You got some pretty good pictures of them, though.
We've got some very good pictures of them. We've identified, there's about 5 people of interest for us. We've identified 2. We've got 2 names already. We've got 3 good photos of the other 3, and so we're pretty good to go. We're getting close.
How are the A-League helping you with this, and what are their expectations of what they want you to do?
Well, we haven't had that conversation with APL yet, so there's a bit of a process we've got to go through. We do our own investigation. We work with both Sky Stadium and with Red Badge, and then we forward what our investigation is to APL, and they pick it up from there. To get these individuals banned from stadia, we need to get a police report out of New Zealand, which we'll follow through. And then we pick it up with APL. But they're obviously fully behind us. They understand the implications of it. They understand it's not a Wellington Phoenix thing, and they'll be 100% supportive. I've got no problems with that.
And where is the police investigation at the moment, do you know?
We've forwarded the names of the people that we have identified, and also the incident report that we've done from our event manager. Haven't got the Red Badge one yet. We're waiting on that. And we've also got the names. Like I said, 2 names of the people we have identified. That's all gone to New Zealand Police, and then we'll follow it up with them in due course.
Without wanting to go completely overboard about it, I mean, do you now think you have to take extra precautions around the away fans in the stadium?
I think what we've learned is that we've got to be a bit harder on the away. I mean, as you know, we've never had an incident like that at a Phoenix game. And we don't have any of our supporters or any of these, anyone from Wellington is on a banned list. We've never had anyone on the banned list, so this is the first time. But what it does show is that as we get to the larger crowds, outside, which is our core base of around 6, 7, maybe 8,000, then you get a bit of the lunatic fringe coming in, and we don't want those people at our games. So certainly with those games where we expect to be a slightly larger crowd, we will go a little bit harder on it, but we'll also look at it and go, well, how do we make sure we section off that away page a little bit tighter with security at the stadium, just to make absolutely sure there's only away supporters in there and that they're protected from any disruption like that.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's not like you want to overreact to it. I mean, that's really important, isn't it?
You're right. I mean, the reality is that it was a very few individuals amongst almost a 9,500 person crowd. It's not indicative of our crowd at all. We don't want to go over the top. It wasn't there was no injury at the game. There was no injuries from any of those supporters. It was just a little bit of a scuffle, but it's just not a great look, and it's not at all something that we want to condone. So we're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. In
full praise of Yellow Fever and your fan base, and I've been reading a fair bit of the stuff that they put on. I mean, this is a fan base, I want to remind people, that goes out of its way to welcome away fans who spend a fair bit of cash to get here to watch these games. They're always in constant touch with supporters groups when Phoenix fans are travelling to those games in Australia as well. Just a good bit of banter, but also making sure everyone has a great time. And so, that's the real shame to me about this, is all the hard work that they've done. It hasn't been undone, but it can get undone by just a few idiots.
We're very proud of Yellow Fever and their hospitality and how they extend, a New Zealand and a Wellington welcome to away fans. They're fantastic, and they're just as disappointed with these guys as well. And in fact, I've had a number of conversations with Yellow Fever guys. I had a text with a few of them this morning, helping us identify. I had to go back and say, it's all right, buddy, we've already got them, we know who they are. Right. But they're very keen to identify and kick these guys out. So, they're fantastic. In fact, after the game, not only were Yellow Fever, but they had Chairman Rob Morrison was down one of the bars in Wellington, and they were sharing stories and having drinks and that sort of stuff. And then no one actually raised it at that time. So, I mean, I think it's kind of a low, like you say, it's a low incident report kind of a situation for us. But again, if it's the thin end of the wedge, we don't want it happening again. And you're absolutely spot on when you say how good Yellow Fever are. But Wellington is generally regarded as one of the best away trips in the league because of the hospitality of Yellow Fever.
Come on, you Knicks! I love it, mate. I mean, it's already been shouted. I mean, it's a real football chant. I mean, it's all over England as well, isn't it? I mean, it's something that is actually already in the crowd.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? It's football, right?
It's football, mate.
We're not making anything up here. It's just our version of it. if Come On You Knicks is the 2024 version of Up the Wires, mate, I'll be ecstatic, because the difference that campaign, or that that thing that happened last year with the Warriors, it made such a difference to those guys. And if we can get the New Zealand football and sporting community, supporting us like they did the Warriors, who knows how far we can go this year. And I know it makes a massive difference to players. I talk to them all the time. I was talking to Rubes the other day about it. He said the difference that a big crowd makes is incredible.
Your favourite game, Lachlan? Next! Which is called What is More Chance of Happening, where I present two different scenarios to you, and you tell me out of the two which is more chance of happening. Next! The feasibility study undertaken by the Christchurch City Council comes back saying that it is not feasible for Christchurch to host the Commonwealth Games, or there is a single solitary person on the planet who genuinely believes that AlphaTauri's new name, the Visa app crap naff, is cool.
There's more chance that there's people on the planet who think that name is cool. Because someone pitched it forward and said, hey, guys.
Hey, what about this marketing
this name is the way forward.
This is going to attract the Instagram crowd.
Yeah. Those kids playing around with bitcoins and whatnot. Let's tap into those kids.
They won't be wearing Red Bull Verstappen hats. They're going to be wearing Visa FNAF crap hats. Next! What is more chance of happening? The feasibility study comes back from the Christchurch City Council and says, yes, it is feasible. Or Bowden Barrett starts the year as All Blacks number 10.
Bowden Barrett starts the year as All Blacks number 10.
I think there's a fair chance of that happening. Yeah. I really do.
I don't think he will. I think it'll be Damien McKenzie, which you are just filthy at, I know.
Well, he's put his hand up, which I admire. And he's made it public that he wants that job. I admire. I just don't think he has the skills or the temperament to be the All Black first five. And I want to be proved wrong. That's all. I want to be proved wrong. But he has to change his headspace and the way he game manages. He's got to stop being super rah-rah guy and actually become an All Black Test first five. So he's got a whole season of Super Rugby to do it. Good luck to the guy. Yes! But I don't believe it's going to happen. I believe that Bowden Barrett will be the guy. What is more chance of happening? The feasibility study from the Christchurch City Council comes back saying it's not feasible. Well, that's obviously going to happen, isn't it? So let's just no, it's going to come back saying, yeah, Christchurch, you should host those Commonwealth Games. It's a great idea. Or Detroit upset the apple cart versus San Francisco in the NFC Championship Conference Final on Monday.
Well, I mean, in the Type 5, I said I think Detroit are going to win. I actually don't know. I think San Francisco will win. So I'd say there's more chance of the... Oh, well, no.
Here we go. Mm-hmm.
There's more chance Detroit win. I don't think they will, but there's more chance of them winning than it's being made apparently feasible that Christchurch can host the Com Games. That's not
Detroit... They are underdogs. San Francisco are a better team, but San Francisco have also shown lately against the Ravens and also for most of that game against
the
Green
Packers,
Bay that they are vulnerable.
Very.
Despite all of their weapons, their defense and everything else, they are vulnerable.
And unlike the Ravens last week against the Texans, they righted the ship at half-time and looked brilliant in the second half.
Right.
The Niners didn't.
No, they didn't.
They kept looking average.
They did. And it was only that last drive by Brock Purdy.
Yeah. No, don't you dare sit there and say that they won that game because of Brock Purdy.
Because of Brock Purdy,
no,
mate.
I'm not going to hear it.
Mate, he was the quarterback that drove them and got them within that thing in McCaffrey. Yes.
I'm not listening to any praise for Brock Purdy. Sure, he's had a good year and he's a good player and he's done well for Mr. Irrelevant. But anyone who dares says that one, he should be the MVP,
off to McCaffrey
or two,
at the right time.
Brock Purdy is the reason the Niners are where they are. Shut up. He does not pass the eye test. Some of the throws that he made last week were appalling throws. Look, there's a reason he was the last pick in the draft. All right, the draft isn't just lucky little dips out of a hat. Guys study these players. There's a reason he was last in the draft, and the system is what's making him look good.
They get them wrong because Tom Brady was selected at 199. Remember, so they do get it wrong.
Okay, that's
one. He's the next Tom Brady.
That's one. How many other quarterbacks have had success of that level and been picked that last that late in the draft?
What is more chance of happening? The feasibility study that the Christchurch City Council is going to waste a whole lot of money on comes back and said, yeah, go on, Christchurch, go on. Or Casey, Tay, and Travis take care of business versus the Ravens?
Much more chance that the Chiefs beat the Ravens.
Only because the Christchurch City Council feasibility is it not? Okay.
Well, actually, no, to be fair, I could see a whole lot of people coming together and say, you know what, if we tax this and do that, yeah, we can host it.
I reckon that if we change the name to the Visa App Crab NAV Commonwealth Games, that there's a chance, CJ.
Next!
I want to be at that meeting. I want to be at the meeting where the feasibility study guy presents his feasibility study to the Christchurch City Council.
Been saying, great,
great, super, great idea. Wow, how much? $1 million. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, cheap at half the price.
So what's your plan to make them money?
They've got to make that meeting public so that the rest of us can go. I want to see ad guy with the ponytail present this feasibility study.
Yeah, who's failed at 15 startups.
This is the one that's
going to work.
This is the one, you guys. What is more chance of happening that the feasibility study comes in and says, yes, it is feasible, or the Phoenix take care of business Saturday nights versus the Newcastle Jets? It's over in Newcastle. And that means a win, not a draw. They need to win this game.
Where are the Jets on the table?
10th.
Oh, you back the Knicks. But there's only 3 wins difference between them.
See, now, great. I'm glad that you brought that up because when it comes to the stats, the Knicks are on 25 points after 13 games. The 7th place side is on 18 points. That's Adelaide United. So that's only a couple of wins away. But when you break it down to wins, draws, losses, the Knicks are 7-4-2. Newcastle are 4-4-6. They've only lost 4 more games. They've only,
not a big difference.
It isn't a huge difference. The A-League is a really tight table.
Yeah, but it's always strange. It'll be the team on top will have no wins but a bunch of draws, and the team second will have all these wins but all these losses. It's really strange. Like Sydney have 6 wins.
Melbourne Victory have won as many games as the side that's in 6th and only one more game than the side that's in 9th, and they haven't lost yet.
Well, they've played 13, won 6, drawn 7, lost none. And then you've got Sydney FC who've done a Man United, won 6, drawn none, and lost 7.
So it's a very even competition. So did the Knicks take care of business? Because it didn't look too flash, but then again, down to 10 men against Melbourne Victory.
I'll say yes, because their away form's actually been half decent, I think.
It has?
Yeah. So I'll say yes. I'll say they get the win.
Next!
What is more chance of happening, though, Lachlan? The feasibility study comes roaring into the Christchurch City Council. They're happy to write the cheque because Mr. Feasibility says it is feasible.
Tell you what, the feasibility report will come with its own ponytail.
It is feasible. Or the Breakers take care of business.
Yep.
Against the Jab Jumpers at the NC.
Much more chance. See, I don't think I've answered that this feasibility report says that Christchurch can host the Com Games. I don't think I've answered that one time. So why don't you just tick all the other options? Because that's what I'm going to answer.
Because I think at some stage I will get through to you and say that the marketing agency, ad guy, accounting firm, consultancy that is charged with producing this feasibility study.
He's got his matcha latte.
Can you know how much hand-on Johnson this is, don't you, people?
He's wearing a vest. He's got a ponytail, some stubble.
You?
He's got like 6 different friendship bracelets.
He's got to present. He's got to have pictures there. He's got to have a video.
Last year he was on a spiritual trip to Nepal.
That's right. He's got a wristband round because he helped a family that was lost their home in the earthquake.
And that's helped give him some great ideas in the advertising department.
Have you ever been through these meetings, people? Because this is what these people talk like.
Next!
Justin Walley, a man on a mission. He is in the Marshall Islands. Where are the Marshall Islands? Well, they're somewhere in the Pacific, pretty much literally in the middle of nowhere. They are the only country in the world that doesn't have an official national football team. And Justin is on a one-man mission to try and change that. The Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, newly formed. Can they get 11 players onto a pitch and play their first match? Explain geographics to start with. Where are the Marshall Islands?
I'm not sure. Is it the middle of everywhere or the middle of nowhere? It's the nearest significant landmass, I would say, is the Solomon Islands or Papua New Guinea. If you head from here, you're probably equidistant to Japan and the Philippines, and I flew in from Hawaii, so it's in the middle of that big vast ocean.
It's a hell of a project that you've taken on here. Why? Why are you there? What actually propelled this?
I was asking myself that question when I woke up this morning, but no, it's a great honour to be involved. What happened was a friend of mine, a friend in football, Lloyd Owers, got asked to be the technical director of the newly formed soccer federation. The back end of 2022, he got in contact with me, just asked me for a bit of advice because I've worked on a similar development project with Matabeleland in Zimbabwe. Managed to take them to the unofficial World Cup in London. So yeah, he got in contact, told me, I gave him a bit of advice, and then my mind kind of lit up with the possibilities because I appreciated it was the last country on earth without a national team, and I said, can I get involved? And he said, well, if you're happy to come along and work for nothing, as we all are, I'd love to have you on board. So that's how I got involved.
Are the Marshall Islands part then of Oceania officially?
In football terms, we're part of nothing, because to get membership of Oceania, the OFC or AFC or even CONCACAF, it's not that straightforward. Kiribati and Tuvalu, I mean, they're UN countries. They're still not members of those bodies, as far as I understand. So it's not that easy. You've got to jump over a lot of hurdles before you'll even be considered. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get football and futsal to a point here where we will be considered for membership, and then beyond that, of course, is FIFA.
And of course, coming alongside membership is funding, and then they start actually giving you some resources, which is, by the sounds of it, without even asking you about that, exactly what you need, because I bet they're pretty paltry and actually thin on the ground.
It's one of those chicken and egg situations, isn't it? If you gave us the membership and the money now, I think we'd be able to do an incredible job and fast track it. We are working on very, very small amounts of money. I think probably talking about FIFA delegate lunchtime bills. We're fundraising. We are selling. We've designed a beautiful national team jersey, which we've been selling, and our profit margin on that we put towards running what we're doing. We're all working on a voluntary basis. To get me out here from Europe costs a lot of money with flights, because you have to fly to LA, Hawaii, and then to here. So yeah, that money's come from us raising our own finances. But if we were to suddenly have OFC or AFC funding, then we'd be in a really strong position. I mean, to put it in context, if we wanted to go and play now, I don't know, Tuvalu, for example, the airfares might be $1,000 each per player just to go there and play, so it's a lot of money.
Justin, in terms of how many players you've got, do they have boots? Do you have an actual pitch to play on? Is the pitch marked? Do the goals have nets? Do you have enough balls? All of these kind of questions.
No, they're fair questions. There aren't any 11-side football pitches here. There is the new National Track and Field Stadium, which has got a grass pitch in the middle of it, which which can be used as an 11-side pitch. However, what we're doing is using basketball courts and playing futsal. And what we're doing is taking along our own portable goals, which we have to put up before each session, because there are literally no goalposts, not even the mini goals. So we put those up. We do a session. We've got plenty of balls, bibs, cones that we've brought in, but it's that rudimentary at this point. However, we've got some players, and we've got the will, and we've got coaches, and that's how you start. I heard a story that in the Solomon Islands, futsal just started from a few kickabouts brought there by one of the churches, and then they ended up being one of the best, the best futsal team in the region for a period of time. So it's rudimentary, but we can start at this level and we can just build upwards, and we think we can do it.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
Unbelievable. Incredible.
The Platform.